So I'm going to be doing something a little different here with this video. Normally these top 10 vids are for whenever we hit subscriber milestones, and I try my best to keep to that kind of mantra. However, seeing so many of my friends make their top 10 Switch game videos now that the Switch 2 is out, I ended up falling into the hype myself and threw together my own list to release. And like all of the ones before it, it's going to follow the same rules as the other lists. No remasters, and if the game released on this console exclusively first and then came to other consoles, then it counts. With that said, I'm Crimson Rosso, and welcome to my list of my top 10 Nintendo Switch games. I'm someone who hasn't exactly been the most quiet about his displeasure with the Switch era of Pokemon. My longest video on the channel is still to this day a giant video complaining about the issues I have with its modern age. But even for all the complaints I have, I gotta say, I really enjoyed my time with Pokemon Legends Arceus. I've always found myself enjoying it a lot when Pokemon is willing to take risks and try new concepts with their titles, probably why I enjoy a lot more of the spin-off titles in comparison to the mainlines. And Legends is arguably the most experimental the franchise has been in a while. Not only is this narrative one of the most interesting the franchise has ever had, focusing on sending a trainer back in time in order to help progress the bonds between human and Pokemon, the gameplay was also immensely unique as well, as you now had to contend with a lot of new changes like the introduction of styles and the ability to capture Pokemon without battling by just throwing balls at them and then dodging all their attacks when you miss and they get pissed off at you. For some people it may seem odd, but for me it was just nice to be able to enjoy Pokemon again after so many titles on the Switch not being all that great. I've got my fingers crossed ZA is as good if not better than what this offered me, but knowing this franchise's track record, I better be cautiously optimistic. If you've been around this shitty channel for a while, you would know that I have a pretty odd history with this game. I originally had started it a while ago, but I had to give up on playing it as around the time I started, I had been looking for an apartment and that required a lot more of my time. But ever since I got one, it's a beautiful apartment by the way, I decided that it would be time for me to pick it up again. And man, I fell in love with it the more I played it. It definitely has its issues, especially with the ridiculous amount of grinding needed for the final boss, and the pretty annoying amount of hoops you have to jump through in order to get there. There's no doubt I've got some gripes with it, but good god, it is one of the best video games I think Square has put out in a good long while. Not only does the game just look and play pretty much perfectly, but out of every job system game I played in recent time, it's one of the ones that actively gets what a job system is supposed to strive for. The pure amount of customization mixed with a decent amount of jobs that each have their own abilities that make them all feel unique makes this game an absolute blast, even if it admittedly stumbles in places. Man, one of these days I gotta get a review of it out and then finally start the sequel. God damn did Platinum Games have such an insane run over the years. They've had their flops, don't get me wrong, every studio has, but for every Babylon's Fall we got, there was something like Bayonetta 3, Wonderful 101, and one of my personal favorites to come out of their repertoire, Astral Chain. This game is so fucking rad. Not only does it feature the fast-paced, heart-throbbing, dick-hardening combat that Platinum had become known and famous for, but also the unique concept that you were controlling one character as well at the same time controlling a monster called a Legion. So battles became a focus of mixing your main attacks together with the Legion attacks to do the most precise amount of damage possible. All the while tackling a dark conspiracy plot with some of the most anime-ass shit you've ever seen. I mean, just look at this and don't tell me that's not rad as hell. I know some fans of Platinum probably won't like that it's more forgiving in comparison to a lot of Platinum's other titles, but goddamn, the more I played of this, the more it became one of my favorite games from them on the system. Now all I have to do is cross my fingers and pray that Ninja Gaiden 4 matches that same energy. You guys can do it. I believe in you. You know, I really like the Luigis Mansion series. It's not my favorite franchise from the folks at Nintendo, God no. But it's one of those franchises that's just got so much charm and uniqueness to it that very few spin-offs can really replicate that I just can't help but fall in love with every title they come out. And while admittedly I was a little disappointed with the second game, I gotta say, Luigi's third outing on the Switch was downright fantastic. going back to the single area in comparison to the sequel's larger multiple mansions, which I felt led to the game being bigger but not necessarily better. And instead, 3 decides to return back to basics and just make the entire mansion a giant hotel. And I fucking loved it. I like the idea that every floor in the hotel was just something different. They also reincorporated the concept of multiplayer into 3 with the introduction of Luigi. And if you've ever wanted to handle Luigi's thick and sticky goo, now you can. I won't say every floor in the hotel was a blast to go through. When you have as many as you do in this game, you're going to find some stinkers. But man, oh man, did this actively make me genuinely excited to see what the next mansion game can go for with how much fun 3 was. So, little behind the scenes lore here. As I was working on this list, I was kind of debating whether or not if I wanted to put 3 houses or Engage on this list, because I enjoyed them both for very different reasons. For 3 houses, I loved how engaging the narrative was and all of the cool gameplay mechanics. I liked how this game let me take basically any character I wanted from other houses to add them to my own, alongside my own class. It allowed me to build my crew any way I wished. While Engage has some of the best gameplay out of all the titles I played so far, and it's also easily the most visually stunning on the system. So after some thought, I decided that I was going to represent 3 houses instead of Engage on this list. And it's down to one simple reason: the replayability. I loved Engage, don't get me wrong, but 3 houses offered a constant loop of replayability by trying out all the new houses and seeing their own exclusive narratives, with a secret one if you know what to do. It just offered more to me as an experience overall. Again, I think both games are fantastic, but 3 houses was just the one that stuck with me more. Honestly, when it comes to making top 10 lists of games for Nintendo consoles, I feel like no matter what, there's always, and I mean always, going to be a spot for a Smash Bros. Games on there, if it is on the roster. The series is like ingrained in the lifeblood of these systems. It's like trying to imagine a company like modern day Atlas without Persona. Just seems kind of unreal to think about. And Ultimate is arguably one of my favorite Smash Bros. Next to Melee or 4. And it's not my favorite because it's one of the most balanced Smash Bros. In the franchise. Oh, no. And it doesn't really have any special memories to me like Smash 4 does. But for me, Ultimate is just so much fun to play around with. Dozens of characters that you can unlock right off the bat, what feels like hundreds of maps to play on, whether they be from the actual game themselves, or from the create a stage function that they brought back from 4. Alongside this, they had a season pass that added many characters I had always wanted to see in these games like Banjo or my boy Sora. Does it have problems? Definitely. Could things have been better? Of course. But man, if you're looking for a good time, Smash Ultimate is definitely a game you should get. When it comes to the concept of an open-world Zelda game, they're a bit of a divisive entry for longtime Nintendo fans. While yes, many did love them for all the new ideas they brought to the series, and pushing the Zelda franchise into a bold new direction, many absolutely despised the open-world aspect, alongside several of the new mechanics that were put into the game, with the main one being weapon breaking. And honestly, I'm one of the former, because I absolutely loved Breath of the Wild. Yeah, things like weapon breaking and the lack of linearity can be pretty weird at points, but good god, was this the most I've been immersed in a Zelda game since Majora's Mask or Minish Cap. It has arguably one of the most interesting narratives in terms of storytelling, with everything being told through flashback as Link lost his memory, and it introduced a lot of cool new additions to the gameplay, like dodging at the last second to unleash a flurry of attacks or utilizing different weapons. Which was probably my favorite part, as I loved fighting with all of the new weapons at my disposal. My favorite was the spear. And sometimes, I just like lying there, taking in the aesthetics, running around, riding a horse, cooking something. It was just such a good time, and I'm so happy it was my first ever Switch game next to the other one we're about to talk about. Okay, so full disclosure here, little truth nuke I'm gonna drop here. This is my favorite 3D Mario of all time. I absolutely adore Mario Odyssey. I have never played a game with so much goddamn fun factor and charm in my life. I adore this title so goddamn much. And look, I love 64, I like Sunshine, and I really do enjoy the Galaxy games. But god fucking damn it, I just can never get Odyssey out of my head, no matter how hard I try or whatever titles I play afterwards. It has amazingly fun levels, the cappy gameplay that basically lets you play as the enemy once you learn how to properly utilize it, alongside some really cool mobility options that made this probably the most fun movement the franchise has ever had. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that this allowed for customizable Mario outfits, which, full disclosure, should 100% be a thing going forward, and I'm glad that they're keeping it in the new Donkey Kong game. I could go on and on and on about how much I love this game. The graphics, the music, the fucking enemies. Look, if you're planning to get a Switch or a Switch 2 at some point, please, I beg you, please, play Mario Odyssey. It will fill you with a happiness unlike any other. And I know for a fact I'm going to enjoy replaying it when I finally get my hands on the Switch 2. Man, this was a really tough decision to make for me. Because for the longest time, Metroid Dread was my absolute favorite Switch title. I loved this game so much, and I even had it up there with Mega Man X as one of my favorite games where you blow people up. But after some consideration, there was one title I played that was still above it. And that's not to say that this game doesn't deserve immense level of praise. Though, cause good God, I've been saying that a lot. This was an elite level return to form. Also, I should probably say, before any of this, I had not played any Metroid games. So this was the only one I had touched. And it was so damn good, I actually went back and played every 2D Metroid game I could. It legit made me a Metroid fan, and it's very easy to see why anyone could become one with this title. It looks amazing, it runs like a dream come true, the level design is immaculate, and the gameplay, especially the boss fights, is on another fucking level. I had so much fun blasting whatever enemies I could into a thin paste, alongside parrying whatever beast tried to come at me in order to kill me. And then I would just blow them up with a missile strike to the fucking face. Just even talking about it makes me hard like no other. If you haven't played it yet, go play Metroid Dread. The only, and I mean only reason it was not number one was because there was only one other title that surpassed it for me. But we'll be getting to that in a second. For now, let's go over some honorable mentions. Mario Party Jamberee. Jamberee is a lot of fun, and it's nice to see Mario Party finally starting to get back to what it was before they started to abandon their more toxic traits in favor of making them fun and friendly. Ugh. But while Jamberee is finally getting it back on track, the game's sluggish movement combined with the length of the minigames, especially for the revamped buddy system, kind of dragged the game down more than I wished it did. Bayonetta 3. You know, in comparison to everyone else, I actually didn't hate the Umbra Witch's third outing as much as others did. There's a lot of really cool stuff in this game that I think could work for future titles. Unfortunately, that was whenever it was running, because it kind of struggled. Like a lot. And I'll be honest, its boss fights did not hit me as hard as games like Astral Chain or even the other Bayonettas did. I'm kind of hoping their fourth title is able to maximize the potential that they set up with this one. Fire Emblem Engage. I'll keep this one short because I mentioned it in the Three Houses spot. This game almost made the list. Admittedly, I do think Engage, though, was not as memorable as Three Houses was. Both fantastic, but again, almost made the list, but didn't. Mario and Rabbids. Honestly, I couldn't pick. Both of these games are great. It could have easily made this list if this was a top 20 or hell, even a top 15. But there were just too many other games I enjoyed more. Plus, I don't like doing two games in the same franchise on one list. Xenoblade 2. You do not know how hard I fought myself not to put this on the list at any spot. It genuinely would have taken my top spot. However, there was one other Xenoblade title that took it instead. I guess this also kind of ends up giving away what my number one pick is, huh? Well, whatever. Let's get into it. Xenolade Chronicles is probably one of the most fascinating franchises I've ever come across. It was a title I had originally quit on when I played the first game on my 3DS, and only got back into it through word of mouth of my friends. Thankfully, this was around when Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition had dropped, and after I played through it, and then later on the rest of the franchise, it became one of my favorite series of all time. The point where, even if I do have issues with one or two of the titles, I genuinely think these are some of the best RPGs anyone can play. And that greatness is wholly captivated by my favorite game on the Switch, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Every time I saw a trailer of that game, something just clicked in my brain that I was going to enjoy it. And once I finally got my hands on the special edition after that bitch-ass Wario got in the way multiple times, I started and I legit could not put it down. The game looked beautiful. Some of the best characters in the entire franchise were in this one, and it had my absolute favorite combat out of the entire series so far. Mixing job system together with auto attack combat kept me addicted from start to finish, and it only got better when it dropped its Future Redeemed DLC, which brought back legacy characters and mixed them together immensely well with the new storyline. This game's perfect balance of literally everything is not only why it's my favorite Switch game, but also why it was my game of the year when it dropped. And realistically speaking, I don't see anything on the system dethroning it. This will stay my favorite Switch title of all time. And with that said, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Do me a favor and like and sub down below. We're almost at 1K, or by the time of recording, we'll be at 1K. Either way, help me get further than that. That'd make you really cool. Leave a comment down below to help me with the algorithm, or if you're just up for a chat, hell, while you're down there, tell me your favorite Switch games. I won't judge, and nobody in the comments better either. With that said, have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time for more RPG content.